Welcome back to Aaron's Opinion, the podcast for blind people where we talk about critical issues in the blindness community. I'm Aaron Richmond. Hey, everybody. Glad to be back here. Haven't recorded in a while. So remember that tonight, like all other episodes, is copywritten by me, Aaron Richmond, and Aaron's Opinion. Thank you. 1240 681 9869. Aaron's Opinion 6 at gmail.com. Follow on Facebook, Twitter, even consider commenting below on YouTube or following on Patreon. We've talked on this show, on this podcast, about movies before, about people who are basically screenwriters. Tonight, we are joined with Escape the Unknown, who is producing a movie about a topic that is very relevant in today's society. So, welcome to Aaron's Opinion. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for having me today.
My pleasure. So, first of all, um, what is, well, first of all, please introduce yourself and then introduce Escape the Unknown and then kind of go from there. All right. So, go ahead.
So my name is Quantisha Brown, but within the industry, I go by Tisha. I am a screenplay writer, film director. I'm getting to the producing side a little bit and the editor. I own my own production company called Drip Productions, where we give people the opportunity to come and build up their skills in acting. And if they want to learn behind the scenes, they are welcome to come and learn behind the scenes as well, where we will teach and, train them before they go out into the big world and work the big jobs. I am the writer of Escape the Unknown, which is a film, bringing awareness to domestic violence. And it's about a young woman named Raquel Sanchez who has gained control of her life after 3 years of being abused by her ex-boyfriend, but is forced down memory lane when she realized she's being stalked by an unknown person. So that's basically the gist of the film. I was going to do the short film in July of this year, but I postponed that because it actually got picked up for development. Woohoo! So yeah, just be on the lookout for that. That'll be coming out within the coming years. And that's just basically who I am and what Escape the Unknown is about.
Excellent. Perfect. How did you get into the film industry in the first place, and what is your interest in that industry?
Well, I actually, when I was younger, I wanted to be an actress, but then I kind of got discouraged when I went on this one audition, and the director kind of like really broke me down to the point where he said I would never make it. So I kind of got discouraged by that. However, I went to high school for film production, and that's where I started to learn the behind the scenes aspect of it. And since 2007, when I was in high school and started learning behind the scenes, I grew a passion for filmmaking. And that's really how I got my start into filmmaking. And I just launched my company last year, February, right before the pandemic. So I'm really trying to pick up all the pieces that were lost during the pandemic. So that's basically how I got started. I have a few films out that has already went through the film festival circuit and has won awards, and I have a few screenplays that went through the film festival circuit also and has won awards. So that's basically how I got started and what I'm looking to do. My niche is screenplay writing, of course, and directing. I just started producing maybe like June last year is when I started producing projects as well. Um, Currently, I am studying or learning how to be a talent manager because that's what I'm going to be looking at soon. I'm going to launch a talent management company soon. So that's basically where I'm at right now with this industry.
That's really good. Yeah, I have spoken to several actors. One actress from California on this program, along with someone else. who does a lot of screenwriting like you do out in California as well, out in Hollywood. And one of the things that has been, impressed upon me by both of them is the people who always say, who always have the dream, I'm going to move to Hollywood, I'm going to be an actor. Those are the people who, and I'm not, by the way, I'm not saying that you were this person, but the people who say, I'm going to move to Hollywood, I'm going to be an actor, actress, those are the people who never tend to not get booked for roles, because those are the people who are not willing to put in the time and effort that it actually takes to get from point A to Z and actually get booked and actually get into a role. And I find that the fact that you opened your company before the pandemic, you maintained your company up until this point, and the fact that you're willing to talk to me on some strange podcast that you've never heard of, it shows me that you're a great director. So I'm really really impressed. I know nothing about your films, but simply the fact, the way that you go about the industry, the way that you conduct yourself shows me that you're definitely doing a great job in the industry for sure. Yeah. And so I find that the behind the scenes work is actually a lot more interesting. So what are all of the behind the scenes aspects of, putting together a movie, a film these days?
Well, I will say, behind the scenes, that's where number one, you develop a family. Of course, we just become a big family because we realize we're going to be together for a couple of days to maybe weeks at a time. So you might as well, get acquainted with each other. But besides that, it's really like the hard work of bringing a story to life. So you have everybody there from the camera department, art department, production design, production assistants, anything you can name of that is needed to bring a movie together. Everybody is there. So it's pretty busy, but when the cameras are rolling, I'm in awe to see what we have developed over the course of a few months to see it actually play out on screen. The behind the scenes aspect, a lot of people say it's a lot of work, and believe them when they say it really is a lot of work. But if you have the right people to make a movie with, it's not really work at all. It's really loving what you do and having fun with it and just creating. So, I always try to open my doors or open my sets to people that, have I guess they have that thing where, okay, I think I want to do this, but I don't know. If they have that type of thinking, I open my doors to them to come on set with us and see how it is. And normally, every time somebody comes on set, they see how we work, they see how we operate, and they just love every minute of behind the scenes. Behind the scenes is where you can actually see and really piece the story together. That's really what behind the scenes is, really.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. Sure, sure. So for this movie, Escape the Unknown, of course, I know you cannot give too much away, but how do you go about, as a director, how do you go about looking for actors? And what are some traits and what are some skills and what are some factors that you look into when you're casting?
So when I'm casting, first I do look on Backstage. I use backstage.com. Backstage is a website that you can post tons of casting calls from. So I post a lot of that on there. I also post casting notices on Facebook and Instagram a lot. So if anybody's following me on Facebook or Instagram and they see that the casting fits them and they interested, we speak and we connect. And unlike traditional casting directors, I'm one of them directors that I will put the casting notice out, and the first person that responds to it and say, hey, this fits me so well, can we like talk or whatever? And I'm like, sure, go ahead, here's the script, read it, everything like that. And to be honest with you, I have more success posting my casting notices and booking somebody from social media than actual casting websites. Like I just get lucky.
That would, you know what, that wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. Sure, that wouldn't surprise me, because the people who are going to respond on social media are the generally the type of people who are willing to put forth the effort to make it a successful screenplay. Not saying by any means, I'm not saying that the people from backstage are not the type to put forth effort. They are, I'm sure they are. But if you're on social media, all the time looking, to take action, to be an action taker, you're going to end up with people who are more serious in the first place. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that has happened. That has happened to me a lot, honestly. I know one film I did last year. I literally found all my actors off of Facebook. I'm in a couple of Facebook film groups and acting groups where I just post the casting notice and they'll see it, and they reached out to me, and the film actually came out pretty good. There were some great actors and actresses that I worked with. And one of them, she's actually somebody that I'm looking to put on my talent roster when I launch my talent management company, because I still keep in contact with all the actors that I work with, especially the ones that are still in high school and middle school and trying to make a name for themselves. I really keep in contact with them and try to make sure, like, they get work, they get booked and everything like that. So if anybody's looking for casting notices, if you are listening, you can follow me at drip.productions 2020 on Instagram, or on my Facebook, I'm under Tisha Brown, and you can catch all the casting notices on those two platforms.
Excellent. So good. So good. So these actors that you have worked with, are they all experienced actors? Are they all professional actors? Or have you ever, found someone through social media who just is really overly motivated, express interest, but then they say, look, I have zero acting experience. In other words, a lot of people, and of course I'm blind, by the way, as you probably guessed, and most of my audience are people with disabilities, so a lot of them would want to know, is acting something that can be done basically kind of off the cuff without experience? What have you found for that?
I have found some people that don't have experience. Matter of fact, one of my actors, he's in high school now. He was actually in my second film, Heart Conditions, that I did. No acting experience. Well, he had a little, and I believe it was from like high school or elementary or middle school, like something like that. But as far as professional acting experience, didn't have any. So, I put him on camera. I gave him the script. He learned his lines. And to be honest with you, a lot of people that watch that film and they see him, even though he didn't have that many lines, a lot of people love how he was. And mind you, that was the first film he ever did. That was the first film. So I have had success with actors that, never acted before. And it's not about, whether you take all these classes or you did all these films, all these plays. It's about, if you really want it, you're gonna literally put forth the maximum effort no matter what, if it's something you want to do. So I've worked with actors and actresses that have a lot of experience, and I work with actors and actresses that don't have experience. And they are just the same to me, not to negate the fact that the ones that are professional and went to class, they do an awesome job as well. But I also have to point out the fact that the actors that never went to an acting class and never acted before, they're also wonderful and they can act as well too. So
Yeah, yeah. So good, so good. All right, so let's rewind a little bit. So if you would like, talk about some of your films that you've already released in the past. What are they about?
so the first film that I did was, I started writing the Escape series, which is different toxic situations people face on a daily basis. And Escape the Unknown falls under that series. So my first film was Escape Daddy's Little Girl. And that one was about a young girl who was getting molested by her father, and her mother didn't believe her. And, after he molested her, he left. So years later, as she kind of like grew up or whatever, he decides to come back and visit. And he thinks that, she doesn't remember what happened, but she does. And when he tries it again, she has the strength to fight back and tell him, no, this isn't going to happen no more. And her mother finally comes in and embraces her and believes her and tell the dad to get out. So that one was kind of like bringing awareness to, believe your child when they say this happened or that happened to them, or somebody did this, somebody did that. If they're telling you it happened, it really, really happened, especially if it's a family member that's supposed to be loving on them and not hurting them. So that was Escape's Daddy Little Girl. And Escape Heart Conditions, that was basically about a young man. He just recently lost his father, and his mother kind of like neglected him in a way when she found a new boyfriend. And this new boyfriend smoked, he did drugs, drank, everything, and didn't really care about the son. And with his heart condition, smoking, all inhaling of the smoke kind of messes with your lungs and your heart. And the mom, that was just bringing awareness to, don't neglect your child, because he wound up committing suicide at the end of the movie. And it's like, don't neglect your child. If your child is telling you something is wrong, something is wrong. Always trust your child, love your child, because you never know what decisions you make may be a life or death decision for them. So that one was just bringing awareness to suicide, suicidal awareness. And I actually wrote that script when I was actually going through a suicidal point in my life. So that's where that one came from. And I spoke on Escape the Unknown, and that one is just about domestic violence.
All really good. So all excellent. So you really like to dig into these different social topics, the social topics that are concerning, American young people and American families today, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really good. And I was about to ask you, you partially answered it. And I'm on one hand, I'm terribly sorry to hear that at one point in your life, you were at that, rock bottom. And I was going to ask if you, had experience with some of these social experiences that you're trying to portray in the film. Oftentimes, authors and directors do have the experiences in their own life that they're trying to portray on the screen or the book. So that's all really, really, really interesting. Yeah. Um, and are all of your now are all of your films like in English, or do you incorporate the global community in other languages?
All my films are in English. Um, I'm gonna get to the point where I can try to incorporate them in other languages. So, like with Escape the Unknown specifically, since that's probably going to be one of my biggest films that I'm gonna do as a, coming into directing and stuff like that. That film I would probably translate into different languages to fit other countries and stuff like that, because I feel like this particular film is going to go global and international. So if it comes to that point, Escape the Unknown will be translated into different languages just to fit the other nationalities there is.
And how does that work? In other words, how does a film get translated from one language to another like that?
Normally I believe it all has, don't quote me on this, I believe it all has to do when it comes to the final touches of distribution and how big it gets internationally or in the US. And if it reached so far out, then I guess they come to the director and writer to discuss, okay, hey, this is going international. Let's see if we can translate this into another language. So don't quote me on that exactly, because this will actually be my first time and with my first film actually doing a translation. But from previous films that I have watched, I noticed that they do keep the same actors. So whoever played that role, when they do translate the film, the film does keep the same actors. They just do the translation. So I believe they'll go in the studio with people that speak those languages and have them translate the script into their language. So they'll read the script in English, but be speaking it in their particular language.
Right. They will dub. Is that what is known as dubbing? Would that be a dub, in other
It'd be
words?
it'd be something similar to like dubbing or ADR. That's what they call it, ADR, where they go in and record audio just to go and put it and match it with the film.
Right. 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 Yeah, that's a huge industry too. Finding people who are actors in that language to be able to record and portray the same emotion, or a similar idea, or that cultural idea from culture to culture. That's a huge industry, definitely. So yeah, good, okay. Now, and you own this film company. So how does a film production company work, and how do you start one, and how do you what are the ins and outs of a film production company on its own?
So with my production company, I started my production company after I did my second film. I started my production company because I'm the type of person where if I can do all of it, why go pay somebody to do it if I got the experience to do it? That's my motto. So I started my company. DRIP stands for Derek, Roxy, Irene, Paris, and those are the four people that passed away within my life. And these four people were like a pivotal point of who I am today. So the company is actually dedicated and named after them. And basically, the ins and out of a production company is basically, taking the idea and developing it into a story and putting it on film. So basically, it starts with the idea. Okay, where does this idea come from? What story can I make from it? You gather your team together. This is where you do pre-production with the whole development process. You do the script writing, you do the script edits. This is where you try to cast for everybody and stuff like that, get location, get budget, everything. And once you get through that, and pre-production, depending on the length of the film, takes a good about 4 to 6, 7 months, just to make sure you have a good pre-production run. And after that, and with the production company, you collab with other people and other resources that can help you make this film possible. So that's all taking place during pre-production, so that when production comes, everything runs smoothly. And the model is, if you have a great pre-production, you'll have a great production and post-production. If your pre-production is a little wonky, then you can expect your production and post-production to be the same way. So basically, the model of running a good production company is to make sure that your team is on the same page with you. You have a team that understands your goal and understands your mission. And you also have a team that's willing to get everything done in the beginning, all the way from the beginning to the end. So really, a successful production company will have people that have the same mindset and trying to elevate and trying to get things done, because doing a production takes a lot of work and a lot of time. So that's my take on the ins and outs of owning and running a production company.
Perfect. So it's definitely the P rule for running a production company. Definitely. Hmm.
Right. You need the right people behind you. You need to, and it's also all about networking as well when it comes to that, because you want to network with a lot of people. So being that I'm a production company and being that I just started, right now I'm in a process of networking with as many people as I can, especially distribution companies. So that way, when I start releasing more films and they see it, I can go ahead and connect with a distribution company to help me get my products distributed.
Yeah.
So it's really all about networking. If you can network, if you own a production company and you can network, you are good to go.
Oh, so good. So good. Yeah, definitely. So how many other podcasts have you been on to talk about, your company and what you do?
Honestly speaking, this is my first podcast.
Really?
Really,
Really? Well,
really.
that is that is very interesting. I'm surprised about that.
Like
Uh,
a lot of people, I'm actually, you know what? I made my name and I made my company name A lot of people found out about my company actually last year during the pandemic, because during the pandemic, I started this thing called live screenplay Zoom parties, where I will allow actors to read from my script and invite people to come watch them on Zoom. So I guess it was kind of similar to like a podcast, but people actually saw like a live virtual production via
That's
Zoom.
incredible. That's incredibly fascinating. Yeah, yeah. And people could, and on these Zooms, could people, give input, privately, like say for instance, actor, actor one, someone could say, here's what I loved about that actor, but here's what I hated, or did you take people's comments and suggestions and complaints, or was it more of like a live stream where you were showing and demonstrating the process?
It was more of a people would be in the comments telling me what they love about the actor, what they love about the
Wow.
actress, just commenting about when is the next one, and it wasn't just people coming on Zoom and watching them act out a script. It was also like an educational thing, because after the whole reading of the screenplay, I would actually have industry professionals, people that are well off in the industry, to come in and speak about the industry itself and give out pointers on how the actors and actresses and anybody that want to go into the industry, how can they, develop their craft. So it wasn't just strictly, oh, watch these people act out my screenplay. It was, okay, watch the screenplay. And then after the screenplay, I will have a few people that I know that's already well off in the industry to come speak about the industry and what they do and give tips to other people.
Excellent. So really, it's the P-roll plus networking, right? Is Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
is really what this all comes down to. This is incredibly fascinating. So have you have you ever, I'm sure this does happen, but have you ever had like a professional actor or really anyone come up to your script and they just start acting and it's clearly not a good fit? And I'm not saying it in I'm not asking it in a sense of teasing it out. Have you ever had an actor where you think, gee, you're a great actor, but you're horrible for this role, or that role is just not appropriate for you? Do you ever find that?
Yes, I found that quite a bit of times. I was actually out at an audition, and I saw a few people, and I was like, oh my God, you guys are a good actor. I have a script. Let's see if I can cast you for a role. And when they came to audition for that particular role, I was like, okay, you're a good actor, but not for this script.
Right.
So,
That's that's the thing that, and I can relate to that, because yeah, if I was acting or directing in that type of capacity, if I wasn't good for a role, not every job is perfect for everyone. If
right,
everyone was a teacher, there wouldn't be an electrician. You can't have, being a great actor doesn't mean you're going to get every single role. The trick, I think, is if you can just get the best role for you. You have to find people have to find what roles they're really good at. Have you ever acted, or are you going to act yourself in any of your films that you will direct?
um, I may act in one of my films that I'm going to direct. It's a four-part series, and it's titled Death Dreams. That's not coming until probably later this year or early next year. And that's just about a girl who experienced death dreams and watched people die and how they played out,
Oh
basically.
my, oh my. Not to be too depressing. I appreciate that you direct things about American society and what's going on. That's great. So, what other genres do you want to cover? Are you planning on expanding to things that are a little bit happier, or are you expanding to other genres? Because you have this excellent vibe about you, but it's a very your content that you're demonstrating is all very serious. And I don't mind a serious movie, but still, you got to have some diversity in the kitchen. Are you going to do something cheerful, happy, or maybe something totally different from that? That's what I would want to know.
I have, uh, you know what? I can't, you know what? all my films and all the scripts that I wrote, all came from something that I've been through or experienced. So even when I try to kind like some of my scripts, I do try, even though it's serious, when I'm writing, I do throw a little bit of, comedy in there, not too
Mm,
much, but I do throw some type of little laughters or one pointers or something like that in the script to try to take a lot, to try to kind of like give them a ha 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 moment throughout the whole film.
right, but is it like
Or
dark? Do you mean like dark humor, or do you mean like comic relief? I mean,
it's like
humor is all.
a comic relief. That's what it is. So
I
it's like
see.
it's a comic relief. I haven't necessarily wrote a comedy per se. I You know what? I think my television, because I wrote a television show, an 8 series television show. And it's called Love Square. And that one actually, although it's dramatic, it's more so comedy dramatic in a sense.
So it's
So
kind of like a serious funny, like funny, but in like a serious show that has some serious comedy at the same time.
right. So it's not as dark as like Escape the Unknown or Death Dreams or anything like that. It's not as dark. But it does have drama in it, but the drama is kind of like a serious comedy drama. So you're gonna laugh, but it's also talking about serious points as well, but you're gonna laugh.
Right. So the reason basically the humor rests on or crutches on the seriousness. The fact that we're making fun of the seriousness makes it funny. Right. Right.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. Cool. Cool. Okay. I totally understand. Now, a lot of people that I've already spoken to, or a lot of people with disabilities, uh, for some reason have this stereotype that all films are filmed in Los Angeles, in Hollywood, which of course is not true. Films are filmed in every country, and all over the world. So where do you generally like to film?
Right now, I am based in Miami, well, Miramar, Florida. So I'm in the South. So that's where all my films currently take place at right now. However, I am moving to Atlanta, Georgia in August. So I would be building my base and also filming there in Atlanta, Georgia, and starting like maybe September, October when once I get settled in Atlanta. Um, I also look forward to, I want to try filming in like somewhere in the country, like South Carolina, North Carolina, somewhere up there, just to give like a different sense or a different vibe. Because I never want to film in the same place. I try to refrain from filming in the same locations. So filming does not only happen in Los Angeles and New York. It may seem like it, but it doesn't. People just have to look for those auditions and those casting calls.
Right, right. Probably there are films being filmed really anywhere, all up and down the coast. Really.
Mhm.
I'm sure. Yeah. Now, but what do you look for in a good location as far as filming?
So a good location to me is something that would fit the story. So, for example, with heart conditions, my characters were in poverty. So of course I'm gonna find a location that's kind of like a house that's like a 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, and it's too small to hold 4 people, a family of 4, but they're in poverty right now. So that's all they can afford. So a good location to me is not necessarily something that's, clean and spotless. A good location to me is something that fits my script, something that fits the story. So it all depends on the story that I'm doing, the script that I'm doing. That's where I base my location off of, and that's where I decide if it's a good location for the story or if I should move on.
Excellent. Yeah. Yeah. And some of the most famous films ever were filmed in several countries. You know, Hunger Games, that's a great series that was filmed I think in the Carolinas and then France and all over. So, um yeah, there's some really There's some really interesting and beautiful places to film. Uh, some really unusual places all over Europe. The islands too in the Caribbean, Hawaii. There's some really unusual environments. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It depends on the story and what you're trying to portray for sure.
Right.
Yeah. And if so, I mean, what is your, ultimate goal with this company?
My ultimate goal with this company is to number one, I am trying to make it into like a conglomerate type company. So have different entities within one. So like right now I have Drip Production. So that's the film production company. And then eventually I want to have Drip Talent Management where I strictly deal with talent management. So managing talent. And then eventually have like a drip agency or drip modeling agency where we strictly deal with models and stuff like that. So my goal with this company is to make it a well-rounded one-stop shop for entertainment purposes. So that's my goal with this company, and to also, bring on people who were probably like me that got discouraged when they got that one big no from a casting director.
Mm-hmm.
So, come on board with me, and here they'll get all the talent, they'll get all the tools that they need to be that actor or actress that they want to be. So as many times as they want to be on camera with me, they can be on camera with me. And once I have enough footage of them, my team and I would develop a demo reel for them to send out, to book those other big auditions that they want to go for. So my other goal with this company is to really bring in as many talent as I can who has, is in that discouraging point of giving up, and just work with them to build them and mold them into what they are capable of.
Oh, that's so good, so good. So, do you have any for example, do you have any plans on writing a film that talks about, disability issues? All of your issues are great, and all those films are wonderful. But at the same time, when I remember now that I was speaking with this actress from California, she was saying that a huge trend in the industry is to talk about disability issues, on the set and in the film and in the play. So what do you think about that?
Honestly speaking, I kind of try not to, write on disability issues because I don't really have a disability. So, I don't want to,
Okay, all right.
you know, some people they just write stuff just to write it. And then when it comes out, it's turning heads because, they got it all wrong.
It's an outstanding response. I
Right.
appreciate you saying that. Yeah.
So it's like, I don't, let's say for me, although I wear glasses, I can still see. I'm not completely blind. So I wouldn't want to write a script on blindness, and I'm not completely blind and I don't know the struggles that a blind person goes through. And then when I release the film or whatever, and people that do, help and care for the blind, they're looking at it like this is not what they go through. And then it's like backlashing on me. So if I don't go through, or if I never experience it, I try not to write about it, because I never want to come off as, making fun of a person with disability. I never want to come off as getting the story all wrong. And I
Mm-hmm.
also don't want to use a disability story just for monetary gain.
All good. Oh no, I no, I completely understand. I respect that answer. That was an outstanding response to that question. I was simply saying that it's just, one of the trends that I've heard about, from the Hollywood side, is that they're trying to incorporate more actors with disabilities and more of the, disability culture into the film industry. But your response was better, that you shouldn't write about it if you don't know about it, and it's perfectly,
Right. And I don't,
that's
and I too much, like, I see what they're doing, they're trying to give people with disability a chance or whatever, but then they also have to understand, because I feel like sometimes, they don't really understand, like, okay, although this person got a disability, we're gonna cast them for this, that, and that. And then, if, people with disabilities, they have to do something at a certain time, like take their pill, take their medicine, or do this, or go do this at a certain time, then it kind of push back production. Like, I don't want people or, productions to look at it as if, oh, because we feel sorry for you because you got a disability, we're going to cast you. My thing is, okay, it's great. You're trying to give everybody that opportunity. But if you know this person does not fit your role, don't cast them. Only cast them if you know they're going to fit the role that you are looking for. And that's where it kind of comes in right there. That's why I kind of like draw the line. Like, is this person, like, if you're a director, okay, you want them to have that opportunity, but do this person really fit your role? Because if you're talking about a disability, let's say you're talking about a blind person, but you got somebody in the wheelchair. Like, so are you casting for somebody to be in the wheelchair, or are you casting for somebody that's blind? So that's where I kind of draw the line at. Like, don't try to cast them just to get that sympathy card. Cast them because you really see the potential in them, number one. And number two, they really fit the role that you're looking for.
Right. Yeah, I could not agree with you more. That's exactly the right approach and definitely the right attitude. Yeah. Yeah. So if they're the perfect role, then you would cast them. If you were looking for someone who's blind in a particular role, and you found a perfect actor who happened to be blind who fit that role perfectly, then that person would be cast. So you would
Right.
only get right,
I would
right,
cast that person. If that's what I'm looking for and that person is blind and they fit that role perfectly, I'm going to cast that person.
right. Yeah. Oh, definitely. No, you're 100% right about that. So so cool, so great. So have you thought about getting into the podcast yourself? Have you thought about opening a podcast yourself?
I thought about it after I did the whole live screenplay reading thing. I thought about it and I was like, I could do it. But then over the course of the months, I kind of backed off of the live screenplay reading because that's when I started getting busy again. So this was a little after, everything started opening up little by little by little. And I just started getting busy again with school and work and, doing a lot of other production. So, if I'm going to do something, I want to make sure I have the time to do it. And I don't think I'll have the time for a podcast.
Sure, sure. I completely understand. So are you studying film in university right now?
Yeah, so I'm at Miami-Dade College studying film and television and digital production. I'm actually going to transfer to Savannah College of Arts and Design, but I'm going to the Atlanta campus. So I started September and I'll be finishing up my bachelor's degree there.
Excellent. Cool. Great. Okay. Well, I think or I hope you have a lot of questions for me. So what are your questions for me?
How did you get started with the podcast?
Sure, sure. Well, well, first of all, let me backtrack a little bit and tell you that, of course, I was born blind with a number of other health conditions. My academic background is in the field of international relations. Um, the only, or well, not the only, but the area of arts that I participated in for many years of my life was playing the flute. I did music and that type of thing for all through high school and university. So I went to a camp, a fine arts camp where they had like different fine arts, acting for one, all of that. So I've never acted, but actually I've been around a couple of times. I've been around people in that neighborhood, in that wheelhouse. And then throughout university I had a lot of opportunity to teach people, and I always enjoyed teaching. So after university I got into teaching. I teach English for a company online, and I've been with them for 5.5 years. And about 2.5 years ago, I was listening to podcasts geared towards the blindness community, and I noticed that they just were not approachable. And I have a lot of complaints. I have a lot of opinions about life and society and philosophy. So I figured, well, if I want to complain, why don't I just complain to myself? And the next thing I know, I just pushed record and off to the races. And then it just kept on building up and up and up until I figured out, oh, with Zoom I can upload to YouTube. Oh, this kind of I really enjoy producing content that my audience really learns from and gets a lot out of. So that's kind of the root of Aaron's opinion. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So how has like Aaron's opinion, like how big is it? Like how's your fan base? I know you said that your fan base is mostly people with disabilities, but do you have other people that don't have disabilities that actually listen to your podcast
Well,
and
well,
gain?
we have you, right? You can you
Yeah,
can you can you can you can listen to my podcast if you want. I'm not stopping you.
but besides me, are there other people who really, because you have some people who are like me that don't have a disability that
Right.
would that wouldn't listen to it.
Sure,
But
sure.
do you have people no, because people they won't listen to because
I,
they'll
lo-
be
I love you. I love that. That's how I am too. I love that bluntness, that direct honesty. You just simply won't listen. Free country, right? Smoke it if you got it, right?
right. So you have people know because it's like, listen, it's like that with me because people haven't been through it, they won't watch what I put out.
Yeah,
So it's
apparently, no, we went through. All you'll do is just produce depressing stuff. I'm just trying to watch a happy movie, okay? Come on.
right. So like,
God, I'm
yeah,
not
so I was
watching any.
just asking, like, have any
I'm not watching any. I'm not watching any of those sad movies. I have enough sadness. We live in a I'm not watching some sad movie, even if I know the director. What are you,
but
crazy?
believe it or not, I have gotten that before. Believe it or not.
there's something. There is something very. I really. I really love the way you talk to me. I really love the way you approach my strange personality, my awkwardness. I really love the way you're addressing this podcast. This is the type of material that I just love. What was the question? Oh yeah. So we have everybody, we have listeners all over the world here at Aaron's Opinion, really in all different countries. Um I mean, we have people in Mongolia who are listening, South Korea. Of course. Now I don't know who any of those people are. Oh yeah, follow up question. I'm just gonna interrupt myself just for a question. When you so like, how does it work when you produce a film and it gets distributed? Do you have like in your industry? Do you have analytics that like show you like the demographics, like what countries watch your film, how it was received, the impressions, similar to YouTube? Do directors get analytical reports like that? What do you think?
You know what? I I can't say yes or no because I literally my film Escape the Unknown would be the first to get distributed, honestly. So I wouldn't know per se, but I'm going to assume that it's like YouTube and like Facebook where you can see how many subscribers or how many people watched it. Or if I put like an ad out on Facebook, I can see what demographic liked it or who I'm going to push this out to. So I would assume that once it get distributed, you would see the analytics of people of who it reached. So I'm
Hmm.
gonna assume that. If it's anything like, YouTube and Facebook and all these other social medias that shows you your analytics, I'm gonna assume that films do that too. I will hope they do that.
I see. I see. Well, excellent. Um, yeah, and so well, that's really good. Let me see. I think I had something. Had another. Maybe I had another. Well, anyway, yeah, we have people who watch this thing really who listen all over the world. So know that. Oh, so okay, here's the question. It just occurred to me again. So yes, we have people all over the world who you will now have. Now your story is global because you're on this podcast. So yes, but so how do film festivals work? What is that whole business of a film festival?
So film festivals work, you basically submit your film or your script to any particular festival that you deem would be beneficial to you. A lot of the film festival, it depends. Some film festivals, you may get lucky to get a distribution deal there. You can submit anything to a short, a trailer, posters for the film, a script from the film, the actual feature length film, if you have a feature length film. And basically, they're judging to see how well you crafted that story together. And depending on, you know, how many awards he's getting, how many awards it has gotten from a Academy Award qualifying festival, then maybe you'll get that distribution deal. A lot of people get their distribution deals by actually having their film screened at the festival, and they're there networking, and people find out, oh, they were the writer director, and that's when you'll have investors and distribution companies come up to them and speak to them about getting their films distributed and putting it into movie theaters. So that's kind of how that works. Film festivals is just getting your name out there, just showing the world what you got, getting the awards, letting people know, hey, I won this award for this. And it's like all dealing with a timing thing. So you'll get, official selection, which is okay, your script or your film was officially selected to be a part of the festival. And if it was officially selected, then they'll run it in the festival, they'll screen it at the festival, and then they'll have like the award ceremony where, okay, you got the quarterfinalist award, you a semi-finalist, you are a finalist, you are an award winner. So it all depends on what festival you put it in. And I always tell people, listen, if you're looking to go far with a particular film or a particular script, it might cost a lot of money and it might hit your pockets, but them Academy Award winning qualifying films, or their BAFTA award qualifying film festivals, will get you where you need to go, because that's where the big people at.
Right. So that would be the Hollywood end, the Hollywood
That,
side. Right.
and to enter yourself into the Hollywood end right there.
Right, I see. But there are probably hundreds of great films at these festivals from all over the world.
Yes,
So,
everybody from all over the world, countries, different states submit to these festivals.
right, sure. So then what are the standards though for entering a festival? And is there like a hierarchy? I'm sure there is some sort of a well, I don't necessarily want to use the I don't really want to use the word hierarchy, but you know what I mean. Is there sort of a ranking of importance in festivals? Obviously, the most famous, well, is the most famous the Cannes Festival in France. What do you think about that one?
So I haven't heard of the Cannes Festival, but normally, when you're looking for like the rankings of film festivals, you can Google it. But if I particularly use filmfreeway.com, and they have a number, like thousands upon thousands of film festivals. And the way that you can rank the film festival is by one, if it says BAFTA, BAFTA award qualifying or Academy Award qualifying. You can rank those there. And then you also look at how many years they've been in business and how many years they've been doing these festivals. That also plays a factor in when it comes to these top tier. Now, as far as like figuring out like what these festivals look for and what their standards are, they have like the rules and regulations for what you can do and what they are looking for. A lot of these film festivals are looking to see if you entered the script into the festival, how well can you bring the story to life within the script? Can they imagine this story? Can they picture the film in their head by reading the script? If you submit a film to the festival, they're looking to see how the story flows. So they're looking for great, the plot. They're looking for, okay, this is how it started. How does it end? They want to see how well this story flows together. They want to see how the characters match. They want to see if these characters had chemistry. They want to see, okay, can they think of, like, can they pinpoint the story the moment within the first 10 minutes of the story will make or break you. So if you got them hooked within the first 10 minutes of the story, they're going to finish watching it. But if they're bored within those first 10 minutes, they're not going to keep watching it. And another standard is, if you do have a short film, the golden rule is to try to keep it no more than 10 minutes. It all depends on the festival. You just have to read it. Their guidelines are there. But some, they will say short films can't be no longer than 10 minutes, or they'll have it where, okay, you have this short film 10 minutes and under, and then you have another one, second short film that's 11 minutes and over. So it all depends. You just have to read the rules and regulations. And you also have to verify and make sure that in their fine print, it does not say your film should not be released on any social media platform, meaning the festival wants to be the first ones to screen and release your film, because that's how a lot of movies get disqualified. Also, after they create and edit the film, they go and plaster it all over social media. So they have to read the fine print to make sure it doesn't say, if your film has already been on YouTube publicly, you're automatically disqualified. So
Yeah, sure.
all it takes is just reading the fine print.
And with me, with any film, if I don't love the film within the first 30 seconds, you've lost me. So see, my standards are extremely high. It has to be really, really, really good in the first 30 seconds. Let me tell you, if I start watching one of your films and I'm sad the entire time, okay, that's gonna ruin it for me. If I'm sad the whole time, okay, fine, won't just fine. You know what? If I mean, so really, you really expect me to go to a festival and watch one of these films and just come in? Oh God, I already know it's gonna be sad, and then the whole time, oh jeez, okay, I guess that was good, but I'm really sad. Okay.
Well, I can tell you this though, Escape the Unknown, it ends happy. It ends happy.
Oh yeah, well, you never gave me that impression. Okay, well, I feel
Without me giving too much away, let's just say Escape the Unknown ends in a happy place.
Well, you know what? Well, there you go. Okay, see, that makes me want to learn more about it. So it starts sad, it starts serious, but then we get happier. Okay. Do you have? Excellent. Do you have one more question?
One more question.
A
Let's see.
question. Okay. Well, final question. A question to really make me sweat to see if I'm really worth my salt as a podcaster. What do you really want to know?
Let me see. I'm going to ask questions within questions. Then a question within the question. Well, number one, I don't remember if you told me. You probably did, but we got so into the conversation, it probably went poof. How long have you been doing podcasting? And number two, besides me, which podcast was probably your most serious, and not serious as in like down and depressing, but which podcast, which podcast that you did kind of made you sweat? Like, y'all was into the conversation and everything like that, and you're sitting there like, oh my God, I gotta release this. Wait a minute, we're getting too deep right now.
First question. I've been podcasting for a couple of years, but only very recently have I taken my show to YouTube. Um,
Oh, I
well, of
got you.
course. Well, no, no well, the answer to this is, I did record an episode. Now, this is truly sad, and you can relate to it. about a young blind man, a guy who's around my age. It's a bit of a long story. I would tell you to listen to it, but apparently you don't want to listen to my show. So it's
You
a- it's
did
it's
not
it's a
say that. I did not say that.
I know. I love to give great guests great. I love to give great guests a hard time. I love to joke around and be sarcastic. I did record an episode, which is even more serious than your movie, about a guy. Now this is a true story. He's blind now because when he was a baby, his father, who was a police officer of all things, shook him and gave him cortical blindness. So I've recorded some truly disturbing episodes about social issues, um, and people being abused and things like that. I have recorded on that, and then I've recorded other things, from other YouTubers, tech people, people in other countries, other podcasters, broadcasters. We had a guy here from BBC who used to work for BBC. Someone else in the film industry was here a while back. Um, and I can tell you a lot more about it, off the air. But yeah, but there you go. All right.
Wow, I'm just saddened by the guy. Wow,
Yeah.
that's
No. Well, no.
wow.
What do you do? Well, then why are you producing all these sad movies? We have enough sadness in real life. See.
You're
So
right.
it's really ironic. Yeah. No. I can no. If you want, believe me, you really don't want to hear that story. But no, I've heard some incredibly saddening and disturbing things happen. And but really, know that you are a forever member of Aaron's opinion. No questions asked. No conditions. You're always welcome on this show, to talk about anything that's on your mind, whether it's your work, your life, the films, or if you just want to talk and just record great episodes. I'm here.
I
We're here at His Opinion. So,
I have another question.
of course,
What days do you release like the episodes after you record now?
I yeah. So everyone does that differently. I tend to release as quickly as possible. I don't edit. So everything is a very raw, very natural, very crazy conversation. And I like that. I think that my audience is attracted to the reality and to my just natural, blunt, direct, sarcastic, kind of weird personality, my flavor. So I tend to release, as quickly as possible, but of course it depends on work and what I'm doing as well. Yeah. Hmm.
Okay, great. So I will be on Erin's opinion. I will go back because I know I think you sent me the link to your podcast. I've actually been very busy,
I
really,
know.
really busy. So I will go back since I haven't been so busy. I can go back and actually listen to it. I'll make it my duty to listen to some of them tomorrow since I'm off and
Oh,
there's no school.
so sweet, so kind. Oh, I appreciate it. So wonderful. That's great. That's great.
So
You
if
might
you
you might you might want to take a look, if you're interested. The episode is called Shook. Listen at your own risk, but if you want one, Shook. That's a really good, or I think, yeah, or something like that. Yeah. And you've been a you've been a tremendous guest here. Yes.
thank you for having me.
My pleasure. All right, everybody. So we'll talk offline, of course. But everybody, that was Escape the Unknown here at Aaron's Opinion. Definitely look for her films, her amazing work, at film festivals. Hopefully, coming to a theater near you. See, you don't even need to waste time reading books. You won't even write a book. Just catch it in the theater. All right.
Right.
1-240-681-9869. Aaron's Opinion 6 at gmail.com. Aaron Richmond, Aaron's Opinion. As we say, I wish you the very best of luck. A very best of health to you, along with the rest of the world. As we say here, stay safe, everybody. And our motto here at Aaron's Opinion: help one person today, help a million people tomorrow.